Hey Chandrahas, excellent shot, and I think I saw it featured on the IG page of Animation Mentor. So congratulations for that, and really cool shot. Some of the transitions that you've put in this is like amazing. Really, it was a treat to watch this frame by frame. It was a treat to find the minutest details of where you might have missed or your mentors might have missed, and it was a real treat. All right, so I'm not gonna waste more time. Let's just dive into the review part. So your shot starts with let's just play a shot for like once. Amazing, man. I love the way you made it spin. This is out of the box thinking. It's amazing. I think the best part for me in this you know whole animation is the part where he takes this trash can and the way he rolls it from his one hand to the other shoulder and then flip it up, and that is amazing, right? And the next part was obviously this. I mean, it's a little bit of a messy, as if you would have added say speed lines or maybe a little more blur and smear, this would have been excellent. But the concept of taking it like this, that is amazing, man. So overall, the shot is already very nice, right? Let's see if I can add something to it of value. You'll be the judge of that. Obviously, you want to be the one who's gonna do it. So let's just see that, right? So initially, when your character comes in, he comes in a very like a heroic pose, and I think you've taken another character and another character's head on top of it or something like that. I'm assuming that I haven't checked this mentor rig in years now. So that's I think that's what's happening over here. Like you've given it a light settle. There could be a little bit more bend in the spine over here to like to adjust the overall shake of the bend of the entire thing. And then you have the there are a few points that I noted down is in this shot that if I have to nitpick, it is that certain action is repetitive. For example, the spinning and like coming down, I believe that comes in somewhere around 5 times or something in this entire shot, and that is a repetitive action that it could be a part of his personality. For example, let's just say like how Perry the Platypus comes crashing through the door every time in Phineas and Ferb, something like that, like a trademark signature move. Could say that, but it also is kind of repetitive. So maybe like if you want from the next shot, or you want to do something and try something else instead of like just the hamster ball, the hedgehog spin. All right, just a suggestion. And the other thing that I noticed is that there's a lot of mirroring in the poses, a lot of twinning in the poses, and where in a snappy animation like this, where you go from one pose to another really quickly and really fast, and then you strike a pose. All right, I would like to see, like people or me, or would like to see something that is not mirrored per se. For example, look at the timing of the hand going to the hip. It's all the same timing, both of them going together. um, like this is, even if it's in a far place, and maybe he wants to push his hip up, push his shoulders up, so he's going to push his hip front. Maybe he used the same timing, but that continues throughout the shot in a lot of places. I'll show you where that comes in. So I know that this guy has been parented to the trash can, but I think he's also slanted with the angle of the dustbin. So whenever, for example, if say you are in a boat, right, and the boat just goes like this, I'm pretty sure that our human body is, like balanced, is experienced enough to, like tilt ourselves to adjust. Even if you look at a moving train, right? So everything is moving, but we still somehow manage to not tilt with the train, because we are the physics laws of physics of body is in motion or in rest until and unless another force is acted upon. So that comes in play. So we kind of like tend to keep our balance. This is what I think I've drawn here, that like he needs to be slightly bit more aware of the situation that he's tilting, and can like correct his pose accordingly, because according to the way you've animated the shot, this guy is a very experienced macho guy. He's been doing this for like, I don't know, years or something, and he's a really cool and stylish guy. So obviously, if we give him a slight a nice straight up pose for even when he's traveling around with that trash can, and it'll make sense, right? So again, there is, whenever he's taking this kind of hold, anticipation poses, he has, again, the twinning action is happening over here. All right. Like for example, I wouldn't know how to, break that, and that would be, from the animator's side, whoever is working on the shot, as a to find out an alternative solution for this. All right. For example, what is he doing? Okay, fine. This is where he straight up jumps. Okay, so this makes sense, right? Um, Maybe I drew this after looking at the whole shot 2-3 times. So he jumps, he curls it into a ball. Everything is nice from there on. I do. One second. I do believe that his this pose could be slightly up, somewhere over here, so that his curve could be slightly better. The way he comes and lands could be slightly better, or this guy should be slightly like this to match the curve. It's not a big deal if you look at it, in a short wise. You could be like, oh, this is nothing, this is small, but the fact that this slight improvement overall compounds later, for a better visual feel of the entire shot. That being said, there is also a lot of issues that I look at in say spacing per se. So for example, look at the spacing here. It's all nice and tight, and then you get this gigantic spacing, and could be supported a little bit of with stretched arms. I think at least that's what I would do to reduce the impact of. For example, his hand was here, and from here to here there's a drop in the spacing of the hands, and it also makes us like sometimes slightly jerk, like could be slightly better. I mean, a little bit of cushion would hurt actually. That, and also since his next pose is going to be like this, how about instead of his hands just being firstly, I love the fact that you've given like twin, like a ghost to him. It is awesome. But how about we give the hand like this, so that or maybe even more turned up. Let's get rid of this. Even more turned up, it's like slightly coming from here, slightly like this. I mean, in a with a visual blur and like the fast pace, it won't be noticeable if we give that less likely to break the character's arm or something. But then what happens is we'll get that whooshing feel from like one pose to another. Like he swept his arm and then went into that this kind of a pose. It's coming up from there. Another thing is this is a big action, right? So there needs to be an overshoot and settle. You have given, I think, somewhat of an overshoot and settle, but let's exaggerate it even more for a height he's falling from, and for the amount of viscosity or rubberiness that you've given to his body. I think there should be more. So what we can do is we can push him a little bit more front on the hip side. We can extend his arm, slightly from here, maybe, like push his head a bit up also. So when he recoils, there is more space for him to recoil. There's more, like frame for him to, like tighten up his body. And also when he's going from this pose to this pose, let's give this hand a slight delay, so that like he's anyway turning towards his left, right? So when he's turning towards his left, he will be leading with his elbow, his shoulder, and everything. And obviously he uses his left leg to sorry, his right leg to give him that boost of going towards there. All right, so he needs to, so let's delay the hand, keep the hand somewhere here, and that will also clear up the silhouette a bit. All right, and if we could, like pose him slightly like this, so this will create a nice circular, arc for the upper body. So when it comes to shots like this, it all ends up being just about shapes and how one shape morphs into the other. That is all the eye sees, because it's so fast, it's so snappy, it's so radical in the way that it moves. You have to be, wary of the way that a shape flows from one end to another end, and what type of metamorphosis does it goes through to reach to that, the final stage of its evolution, if you want to call it that. So let his hand drag a bit, let it drag, all right, and then we can go to somewhat like this, which is slightly away from the current pose, which will give us two frames to, like kind of keep going. That is what snappy is basically. Snappy is you start slightly slow, you give the audience a hint of what you're going to do, and then you do it really quickly, and then you like settle and cushion in that pose. All right. Classic examples: Hotel Transylvania, my favorite, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I love that movie. So all of these are very great examples of snappy animation. So if you look at that, there is pose to pose. Yes, they go from one pose to another pose and strike another pose, and but look at the way their antique works. It's very therapeutic to watch how their animation flows from one shape to another shape. So as 2D animators used to do, they just used to look at lines, how the lines flow. That's exactly what we need to do here as well. All right. So I love this ghost hand thing. But what I'm not very, keen about is again the spacing issue that is going on. For example, look at the spacing between the trash can, which was here to here. All right, it was a huge hit. And then what happens is the next spacing is barely anything. So what happens in situations like this is that your eyes get stuck over there, right? Like it felt like it went stuck and then came back really fast back again, and that creates somewhat of a jerk in such a fluid movement, which you're gonna give next, like this. You can give it a little more hang time, I would say, and a little bit more spacing to go around. Right, let's just take it a little bit more up, because he threw it with such a force that in one frame it traveled this much distance. It should, I mean, we should give it the opportunity to go reach its potential and then come back down, right? And that will just only create a better visual path to your animation, to that object, right? to your eyes. So and then like it just drops down like a straight rock. All right. So let it have some more curve. All right. And so you can connect it into a nice circular path and then like move it around. That is what even here, all right, like let it go a little bit more up. All right, let's not just restrict it too much because gravity is there obviously, but what happened to all the force that guy used to throw it up? So that if anything goes up, obviously comes down, but it takes its own time according to the speed and the air resistance and the weight of the object. So and then he holds it. When he holds it, let it you lift it as soon as he got hold of it. So let him go for at least one frame down after he's caught it. No matter how strong he is, there is certain weight to that steel, trash can. So if he's caught it, all right, if he's caught it, it needs to go down a bit, all right. He's caught it, it needs to go down a bit, and then it can go up. So that you can add over here. And probably the arc of how he is, using the trash can be better. Like the way he's throwing the trash can, the arc of the trash can could be better. Also, the fact that he is not using his hand, this hand, which could be used in a very creative way for something like this. If he's like this, he can actually use it like his arms. You can put his arms like that, and then his arm can come from here, all right, and then get added to the entire momentum of the shot. That will be like something really crazy and fun to watch, and really smooth for that matter. Again, there is a triangular path that the leg takes. It takes somewhat of a straight, I think, path that goes on. Yeah, like it goes from here to here straight, and then goes there, and then it travels here, and so there is a kind of feel that goes in, and we can swoosh his leg, like this a bit, instead of this folding here as of now. So what we'll do is it will add to the curve of the entire body, and that will in turn add a nice softness to the entire the way that the leg is moving and gets joined with this fellow over here. So I see you have stretched the neck over here. That means the neck is stretchable, which I will I was wondering if the neck is stretchable or not. I'll come back to that in some time. I think you've tried to give some variation during the spin so that it doesn't look all in like one direction. I think instead of this pose, if we could have somewhat like this, so he's ready to like bang the the dustbin onto the ground. So after that, we could have a like a better leg like this going up. All right, we could have a better pose, a slightly better angle for the trash can, a slightly better pose for the hand, which flows through the body. And then the next one could be actually this is a pose where he is arched like this. It's arched like this. He's keeping the trash can. That's his hand. He's keeping his trash can, over there. His chest and his hip is over here. He has that leg up here, because in the next frame he's going to kick back. So he needs the momentum to make that happen. So that and this leg could flow with the curve of the body. All right. And what will happen is this trash can touch the ground straight and lightly stretched. When we all know that the impact happens at the moment when it's touching the the target, it needs to be stretched, bouncing ball, darts, arrows, you name it, whatever, classic examples that we take off is this. And then the next frame is when the compression needs to happen, and that's where the bang comes into play, right? So this, and then he can go into that pose. So he has this anticipation of a leg here. All right, I think this is a better pose that I've drawn here than rather than that. So follow this one if you can, and the next one is like bam, and he could have even more a straighter, like a nice flowing through curve for the dustbin kick. And I believe the amount of force that he used for the dustbin, the way he kicked it, the spacing should be like, if this is the spacing, the next should be here, and then the next should be here, and then it can probably slow down by the end, and not like. So what happened is all of this force that he's gathered and pushed it, then your dustbin doesn't respond to it really well. Either the dustbin needs to spin really fast and go slow, because the energy has to go somewhere, right? So if he kicks it in an angle, either it starts to spend all that energy as all that kinetic energy as rotation or translation. All right, any one thing should be very very prominent, right? So that is not happening over here. All right, and the other thing is that when he goes, again he gets into a role. I think that we can excuse as a part of his personality. What I am actually looking at is the way the spacing again is working in play here. So for example, this is the spacing, overall spacing that's going on over here. So there's one here, another here, and then another here, and after that it just is another here, like all of that action, all of that motion, where did he go? Like, I don't know, it just kind of vanished. And then you see that he goes slightly lower, and then he just jumps up. So for that to happen, let's keep this spacing slightly closer here, this spacing slightly here, and then he can probably rest his body and his head in a nice cushion, so that our eyes doesn't get any jerks. And also use his hand to create a pose that's not mirrored. Like this is like what he's having right now is a mirrored pose. All right, this is exactly he's making an M right now. So let's make it a like an S curve. Let's give something that is different. All right, and then he can come and this thing. And then I was thinking that that instead of him going straight up and then striking this pose, why not go like this? All right, like take one more frame and jump and then reach this pose. So you'll have something like this instead of such a huge gap from here to here. Like if you see the head, like such a big gap for head, and then like not that much of a gap in the next frame. So the spacing gets all jumbled up. So take your time to make him really like take an antic to jump. And after this, this is a slight antic which says that audience, okay, I am going to jump. So the next pose, instead of that could be this guy. This guy could be somewhat like this. The left hand could be like this. The right hand could be somewhat like this. He can use one leg or both leg. I leave that up to you. He'll have a slight hunched back because his lower body is pushing him. His upper body is getting ready to do that volleyball smash thing. So he needs to be curved up a bit. He goes up, goes into this pose, and I think he can have this hand slightly more down, so that when he goes up, he can have like a better way of hitting. Also, try to get a nice, instead of a straight T line, try to get a nice, curve going on. All right. Like I'm getting ready to, like slap the shit out of you. Sorry, pardon my language. Or like this. Yes, exactly. This is what I want. This is the curve that I want. I would like to see, like, like this. So his hand is ready to slap the crap out of that bag out of here. All right, and you can give a smear pose over here. Like stretch the hand, stretch the entire, fingers and everything, so that, because it's gonna be a blurry slap, right? Smash. So, and then you have this thing as well for, your support. So I don't think there should be anything for you to worry if, for you to, like give this smear frame over here. So I would say for this, stretch the hand a bit, stretch it, and then, like forget this pose. I would say delete this pose entirely. And just get to, yeah, this pose from here, because you already have a hand over here, so it'll be all fine for you. And instead of this, you can have a pose which, like his hand is actually coming in like this. Sorry, the fingers and this thing here. So like this, instead of this arc, so that he, like slaps and gets to that. Instead of slap and then kind of pull his hand back, he can, like slap and then, like a circular motion, he can use that to go up against the, this thing. Again, his hand can be, even more. Sorry, what is going on? I don't know. So even more, getting ready for that. Stretch his hand, so that when he's hitting the bag goes straight into the pin. And when it's going, like what, for example, let it not have this much gap between the two. What you can do is bring it down, so that, if this is the dustbin's contour, what you can do is you can have a stretched pose here. So what will happen is the next pose, it won't disappear. So you will know that the audience knows subconsciously that, this bag has half gone inside, and this is a stretched version of the bag that, that he's really put his effort into it. And then the bang happens, then people can understand, oh, okay, oh, this is what is going on. Also, with a force like that, when he's hitting the pin, I would suggest like a slight, like a jump kind of like a thing. If given to the pin, it would be, it'll make it even better of an impact. Again, try to get a nice arcs going on, when you are into a hold pose. Imagine if this with a slightly better, pose, he'll look like a crescent moon. It's such a nice pose that you can, like do something about it over here, so please make sure that, your pose is, I know it's difficult, and I really don't know the limitation of this rigs. This is just a suggestion of mine. So, like have this kind of like action going on over here, look how beautiful that will look. Like it'll look like a Japanese, it'll look like a, like a Korean letter or something. It's really nice. After that, he goes into this pose, which okay, fine. I mean, he's going into one, and then he is taking an anticipation for the next one. All right, that makes sense. And so he then, from here, he goes to here. All right, I would appreciate it if you kept the arc even better like this, and then he kind of goes slightly more like this. All right, and then he kind of goes into it. Now this part I loved. All right, after that, what's happening is what is kind of not setting with me, if if I'm saying that right. So what is happening is, look at the spacing that's going. Look, all of these lines, they represent the spacing of the root, all right, of the head of the character. So from there to there, and then the head would probably be somewhere here hidden. And then you look at it, like he then starts rolling, he loses all that speed and momentum in an instant, and he's just like rolling really slowly. So I would suggest that after this, all right, after this, just go straight to this pose, all right, and then from here you can go to this and then this. So let the momentum die eventually, all right. Let's not kill it the moment you hit the pose where you wanted it to be. Take some more time if you need to, do the dissipation of the force, or use that force. Like, let him come in the same speed, and then like turn into this guy, and probably take a break and then go on to whatever he was going to do. All right, because as of now, he comes in and he just like comes in and does something which is which could have been like a smear frame in itself. For example, he didn't have to sit here for 2 frames, take his hand up, take the pin, and then jump. He could have like just from that roll, he could have gone into like this pose, and from there he could have just taken up that. So deciding where to stop the character, where to make the momentum die, where to keep it alive is an important skill, right? So this you might need to consider during this transition, and if not, then not, because anyway, it's my viewpoint. If you want to take something, you take. So again, he's like dumping something onto the this thing. Let's see if I have given some sketches for that. Yes, I wanted this to like kind of this to go back where he like this is his head, his body is like this, his legs folded or whatever, however you wanted to keep it. Let him bring him back a bit so that there's a distance between him and the can. And also, like I said for that trash can, I'm saying the same thing for this. Stretched to direct squash is never gives out the weight. Whenever you're doing a ball bounce, right? If this is your stretched, and this is your squash in the next frame, it will not create an impact. What creates an impact is stretched almost touching the ground or touch the ground, and then you get a squash. And then when jumping back, you can have a squash which is not. We can have a stretch which is not, which is not touching the ground. But when the squash to stretch happens, needs to be there. All right. So that impact. For that impact, I need you to move the character, and then like probably have him with straight hands in here. All right, and accentuate the lines from there, going like that, like like from the hands to the leg, spreading the power, the force of that impact spreading through his body. And then he can like curl up into a ball in the next this thing. I'll appreciate it if he had still his hand connected in this pose, and then maybe here he can have his hands come out a bit and then turn up into a ball, and then go. So there'll be like a and then like that, instead of just a whole circle for 3 frames, there'll be a little slight character to it. And again, the way he breaks up from that is again with like a very mirror pose, and again a mirror pose back again, and then this this pose. I mean, I can't put it in pose. Like this pose. Right? This is a weak pose. I mean, he had a nice fist here. Could have continued that fist, because here also you have a fist again. So why not use the same thing throughout the shot? So that slight movement of opening the hands causes a weakness in the pose. Again, there is this the way he kind of moves from one pose to another is again like this, and it's it's a U, inverted U, or small n. It's just mirrored, and then you have again this pose. Not much to actually support this. For example, if his hands were here, all right, like slightly like this, and then he goes into this pose, so there'll be slight cushion, and like that will make sense that his two arms are not moving at the same time. All right. Again, this and yeah, so this area, I felt that this area could use overall a little bit more effort, in posing, and the way that your body is. Yeah, I think it is also the spacing. For example, he goes from here to here. He's made a jump, all right, and the next pose he just goes itna sa, like a very small amount of travel that he does. That is kind of makes it look like he's stuck in some place, and that is a little riveting on that point for the body, right? So again, from a stretch to a squash, and then the momentum dies, like right here. So he has this, from here to here he comes in, from here to here comes in, and the next movement it just dies. So a little bit more of cushioning, even though it is snappy, I understand, but to settle that we need a little amount of spacing that will not make it look like, oh, it's a hit and a hit and a hit. There's a hit and then there's a softness to that hit. That is what we need. We need a hammer with a little cushioning on the front. Those rubber hammers which hits but does not leave a mark. It does not do so much damage, but they deliver the blow, right? That is what snappy animation basically is. It's like a rubber hammer. So again, he goes into a ball, and again he has the same hands. So imagine, I'm going through this. I have seen these hands almost everywhere throughout your shot. So so here, when he was coming down from there, all right, when he was landing from here. So I have seen these arms like 4 times, 3 times already. So it's getting cliche. We have to keep the audience interesting throughout the shot. We cannot give them one thing and the interesting in the beginning and then just keep on dragging it to the end. And I'm saying all of this is because this is such a good shot. I mean, it's really nice what you've done here, but since it's so nice, I have to be nitpicky and pick out even the smallest mistakes that you've made, or the smallest detail that you might have missed to make this shot even better. All right. And then when he's getting up, and his hip kind of gets stuck, and there's just one part of the body that's moving. Usually we don't do that anywhere. Be it snappy shot, be it an ultra snappy show, whatever it is. We usually don't do it because we have to give some cushion to his lower body as well. All right, and then he kind of moves, and just like that he gets up. So I was thinking maybe he can keep his hand slightly like this, and then his hand can be over here, and then he can go ahead and like this, and then blow the whistle. And I don't know, maybe you can keep his leg like this, because what is happening is he's having a stretched leg, and just before landing he goes into this pose. Why not keep the leg already in that pose? If that is what is going to happen just for 1 or 2 frames, instead of it becoming like a jerk, we can already keep it there in that position, and then everything will be fine, right? So yeah, this area is pivoting from, say, chest over here. All right, so we need to bring his root down a little bit so that his legs don't have to stretch so much. and his head can be somewhere here so that he gets a nice arc of getting down, you know. His hand can drag a little bit more over here, also here a little bit, and then when he drag a little bit here, it can come from an under to over arc. And again twinning, the same time, same pose. Maybe keep one hand like this so it comes one frame late, and that way we can have a better flow to the shot. And that's it, man. I mean, I don't know how helpful this was to you, or how much are you going to implement. If you want to run it by with somebody, please be my guest. You put it up for review. I reviewed it, and I had fun reviewing it, man. Seriously, it's been a long time since I've had a shot which I had to look up so much detail to tell someone their retakes. Right? So thank you for challenging me. This is the kind of challenge I'm looking for. Right? Thank you for challenging me, and thank you for letting me help you get your shot to the next level. All right. Thank you, man. And yeah, all the best. I cannot wait to see how this turns out after all the retakes. Cool.